Relationships, am I right?
Oh, tell me about it.
They can be tough,
Yeah,
and we all want them to work.
of course.
Like, what's the secret?
Right?
So what if it's not some big mystery?
Mm,
What if it's just putting we before me?
interesting.
That's what we're looking at today.
That's
We're using this source, we before me.
okay.
It uses a research paper and a blog post.
Cool.
So we're getting like the psych and the social side of things.
Nice.
I've got our expert here with us.
Happy to be here.
Before we get into it,
Yeah.
can you just give us a quick rundown of this whole idea of putting we before me?
Sure. So it sounds simple, but it's more than just saying the words, right?
Right.
Putting we before me really means you choose the needs of the relationship over what you want personally at that moment.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's asking, how will this affect us?
Mm,
Not just what's in it for me.
gotcha.
It's a bigger picture thing.
Right, and we before me doesn't stop at just defining it, right?
Nope.
It brings in all this psychology
Oh, yeah.
to show why this matters for healthy relationships.
Interesting.
I thought the part on unconditional positive regard was fascinating.
Ah, yeah.
Carl Rogers, right?
Yes, it
Big
is.
name.
It is, and it fits in perfectly here.
How so?
Well, unconditional positive regard means you accept your partner, flaws, and...
You mean like no judgment?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's making a space where they feel safe to be themselves.
Makes sense.
No matter what,
Yeah.
they can be totally honest and open.
So how does that connect to putting we before me?
Good question.
Is it about not always having to be right
Exactly.
so that your partner feels heard?
Yes. It's like saying, hey, what you think and feel is valid,
Mm-hmm.
even if I don't agree.
Interesting.
That builds safety and trust,
Okay.
and then you can both be more open and honest,
Okay.
and that helps you make decisions that are good for both of you.
That makes a lot of sense.
It really does impact how you act.
So it's not just about everyone feeling warm and fuzzy.
It goes deeper than that.
We before me
Yeah.
links this to like actual relationship stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Like what we do in the relationship.
Think about it. When your partner sees you and accepts you,
Yeah.
you're more likely to compromise,
Makes
to be more generous.
right. To consider their needs as important as yours.
Because, deep down, they're doing the same for you.
So it's like a cycle, a good cycle,
Yeah, like a feedback loop.
where being accepting leads to good actions,
Yeah.
which strengthens the bond, which leads to more acceptance.
Exactly. And there's another psychology idea that backs this up.
Oh.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's seen that pyramid diagram, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
But how does that fit into putting we before me?
Well, on that pyramid,
Yeah.
love and belonging, they're basic needs.
It's like right up there with food and shelter.
Exactly.
Wow.
When we put we first, make choices for the relationship.
Yeah.
We're meeting those needs for both people.
So by focusing on the relationship, we're actually taking care of those deep needs for connection,
Yes.
which then frees us up to focus on other things, to grow in other areas.
It's like building a house,
Oh, I like that.
Strong foundation, then you can build up from there.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
And we before me talks about attachment theory too, right?
Yes, it does.
I vaguely remember that from college.
It's about how our childhood affects our adult relationships.
Right. So how does putting we before me play into those attachment patterns?
It can make a big difference.
Really?
When you consistently prioritize we.
Mm-hmm.
You're showing you're reliable, you care, you're there emotionally.
Okay.
Those are key for secure attachments.
So even when it's hard,
Yeah.
when we choose to do what's best for the relationship
We're actually changing those old patterns.
and building a more secure bond,
Precisely. It's like saying, you can count on me. I'm here no matter what.
powerful stuff.
And that consistency, that builds trust and makes the connection deeper over time.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
it is.
So we've talked about the psychology.
We have.
Now I'm curious about the sociology angle.
Right.
Because we before me touches on that too, right?
It does.
It's easy to get stuck in the individual stuff.
Yeah.
But we before me zooms out.
To the bigger picture?
Right, like to society.
Exactly.
And it talks about the functionalist perspective.
Oh, yeah.
I have to admit, I needed a refresher on that one.
Well, in sociology,
Okay.
functionalism sees society as a big system
Okay.
with all these parts that work together.
To keep things stable and orderly.
Exactly. Like a well-oiled machine.
Gotcha.
Each part has its job
Okay.
to keep the whole thing running smoothly.
So if we're talking relationships,
Yes.
the parts would be the people.
Right.
And the machine is the relationship itself.
Exactly. And just like in a machine,
Yeah.
each person has a role
to keep things healthy.
Yes, to keep the relationship stable.
Okay.
Functionalism would say that putting the relationship first.
The we
Yeah.
is essential for the whole thing to work.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
But it's not always easy, right?
Yeah, relationships can be messy.
We before me mentions conflict theory, too.
Oh, yeah, which seems kind of the opposite of that smooth running machine idea.
True. Conflict theory says conflict is normal.
In any social system.
Yeah, even in relationships.
Because of, like, power struggles.
Exactly. And competition for resources.
Resources, you mean like time, attention, money?
All of that, yeah.
Hmm.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Putting we before me can actually help with those conflicts.
Oh, interesting. So it's not about avoiding conflict altogether.
Not necessarily.
More like approaching it differently.
Exactly. When you come at disagreements thinking we before me,
Mm-hmm.
you're less likely to dig in your heels.
And just fight for your own way.
Exactly. You're more open to compromise.
Finding solutions that work for both of you.
Even if you have to let go of some of what you want.
So it's like choosing which family to visit for the holidays.
A classic example.
Instead of each person insisting on their own family's traditions,
Yeah.
you find a way to blend them, or alternate years,
Exactly.
showing respect for each other's wants and needs.
You're not ignoring your own desires, but you're considering them in the bigger picture.
In the context of the relationship goals.
Right. And that can make things more fair.
Less fighting.
Yeah, a less contentious dynamic overall.
I like that.
Yeah.
So we, before me, gets into some real practical ways to do this, right?
It does.
Like active listening.
Oh, that's a big one.
Really important.
It is.
So what is active listening exactly?
It's really hearing your partner.
Like actually listening.
Yes. Without interrupting.
Oh, that's hard sometimes.
It is.
Without judging.
For jumping in with solutions.
I do that.
It's easy to want to fix things.
Right. Or give advice.
But sometimes they
Yeah.
just need to feel heard.
Just to feel understood.
Exactly. Active listening shows you that their thoughts and feelings are important.
And that reinforces that we man wayness.
Exactly. You're prioritizing understanding.
Over being right.
Yes.
Okay, and we, before me, also talks about shared decision making.
Right. It does, instead of one person always deciding.
You involve each other.
In everything, big and small.
Like planning a vacation or even just what's for dinner.
All of it.
So it's about valuing each other's opinions.
Yes. Recognizing you both have something to offer.
It creates a sense of partnership then.
Exactly.
Like you're on the same team.
Not competing for control.
I love that.
It's a much healthier way to be.
It's a great concept, but I think some people might worry about losing themselves.
Oh, I get that.
If they're always putting we before me,
It's a valid concern.
like becoming a doormat or something.
And we before me actually addresses that.
Oh, good.
It's not about neglecting your own needs completely.
So there's a balance.
Absolutely.
Where's the line between we and me?
It's about recognizing that a healthy relationship means both people can thrive.
Okay.
It's not one person sacrificing everything.
Ouch.
It's finding a way for both partners to feel supported and respected,
Okay.
empowered to do their own thing.
So you can have both.
You can. It's finding that sweet spot.
Where individual growth and relationship growth work together.
Exactly.
Huh.
And that's where the magic happens.
I love that.
When both partners are fulfilled individually,
Yeah.
they bring their best to the relationship
And that creates a positive cycle.
of growth and connection.
That's so well put.
Thanks.
So we, before me, mentioned choice theory and something called Glasser's 5 basic needs.
It did.
I'm not familiar with those.
Well, choice theory says we're all driven by needs,
Okay.
like deep down inside.
And what are Glasser's 5 basic needs?
Survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun.
Okay, we all have those to some degree.
We do.
But how does choice theory connect to putting we before me?
Well, that need for love and belonging,
Hmm.
it's central to choice theory.
Hmm.
And it says that we measure how strong that need is by how much love we give.
Not just how much we receive. Interesting.
So by putting we first, showing love and care for our partner.
We're actually fulfilling our own need for love and belonging.
You got it.
So it's a win-win.
It is.
By focusing on we're meeting our own needs too.
Exactly. And choice theory says we have the power to make choices that satisfy our needs.
In a good way.
Right. Healthy and constructive.
So even when it's tough,
Yeah.
we can choose to act in a way that benefits the relationship.
Because we know it'll ultimately be good for us, too.
It's empowering, right?
Absolutely.
We're not just stuck with our past or whatever.
You have agency in your relationships.
And we, before me, gives an example of this in action
Oh, yeah.
when it talks about couples negotiating their needs for power and freedom.
Ah, yes.
Those can clash, can't they?
Especially in romantic relationships,
One person might want a lot of control.
while the other craves independence.
Right. How can putting we before me help with that?
Communication is key,
To talk it out.
openly and honestly,
Both partners need to say what they need.
clearly and respectfully, and then work together to find solutions that honor both needs.
For power and freedom.
It might mean compromise
Or setting boundaries.
or getting creative
Right.
to meet each other's needs
So it's not about one person always getting their way.
or suppressing their needs.
Right. It's about finding a dynamic where both partners feel empowered and respected.
Exactly. And when you do that,
When you come at it with that we before me mindset.
you're more likely to find solutions that strengthen the relationship.
As a whole,
Yeah.
this is so interesting.
It is, isn't it?
I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Me too.
It's really making me think about things in a new way.
That's what we like to hear.
So we've talked about how putting we before me can help with conflicts.
We have.
But what about those times when it feels like me needs to come first?
That's a great question.
Because we before me mentions that too, right?
This does.
Can you really have both?
That's something a lot of people struggle with.
So, is there ever a time when it's okay to put yourself first?
Let's think of it as an adaptation, not an exception.
Okay.
There might be times when individual needs have to take priority
For a while.
for a while, yeah.
That doesn't mean you're not committed to putting we before me.
Exactly.
It's just recognizing that life happens.
Life throws curveballs, yeah.
Can you give me an example?
Here, imagine one partner has a serious health problem.
Okay.
The other partner might need to focus on caregiving,
Right.
and their own desires take a back seat.
Because they're focused on their partner's needs.
Exactly.
Or maybe one partner gets a job offer.
That requires moving.
That's a big one.
It is, those decisions.
They need a balanced approach.
Yeah, you have to consider both the individual's needs and the needs of the relationship.
So the balance between we and me can shift.
It can,
Yeah.
depending on what's going on.
It's not about one person always sacrificing.
Right.
It's about supporting each other
Through those tough times.
while still protecting the relationship.
Yes, and that's where communication is so important.
To talk about it,
Yeah, both partners need to feel comfortable sharing their needs and concerns.
even when those needs seem to conflict with the we.
Exactly, it's about finding solutions together.
Even if it means temporarily adjusting the balance. I'm realizing that putting we before me isn't a one-time thing. It's ongoing.
It is.
Communication, compromise, adaptation.
It's a journey, not a destination.
And like any journey, there will be bumps in the road.
True.
But we, before me, is saying that this mindset
Of prioritizing the relationship
Yeah.
can make all the difference.
in getting through those tough times.
And building a strong, lasting bond.
This has been so eye-opening.
I'm glad to hear that.
Before we wrap up, I have one more question.
Okay.
We before me mentioned some big names in psychology and sociology.
Like Carl Rogers, Abraham Maslow, Eric Fromm,
Yes. If someone wanted to learn more,
about those concepts.
where would you suggest they start?
If you're interested in unconditional positive regard, Carl Rogers' book on becoming a person is fantastic.
Okay.
It's about empathy and acceptance.
For personal growth and healthy relationships,
Exactly.
and for Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
His book, Motivation and Personality, is a must-read.
Cool.
It explains human motivation,
And why those core needs are so important.
including the need for love and belonging.
And for the concept of love itself.
Eric Fromm's The Art of Loving is a classic.
Okay.
It challenges how we think about love
Interesting.
and encourages us to be more conscious and giving in our relationships.
Wow, those are great recommendations.
I hope so.
I might have to check those out myself.
I think you'd enjoy them.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's been my pleasure.
This deep dive into putting we before me has been truly illuminating.
I'm glad you found it helpful
I hope our listeners feel inspired
to apply these ideas.
and experience the power of prioritizing we.
It can make a real difference.
To all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
we encourage you to think about what resonated with you today.
What stood out?
Think about how you might incorporate the principles of putting we before me.
Into your own relationships.
Maybe it's making a conscious effort to listen more,
Or choosing to compromise
or simply saying thank you.
for the things your partner does for you.
Every step you take towards prioritizing we,
It matters.
It can create stronger, more fulfilling, more resilient connections.
In all areas of your life.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time.
Keep diving deep. So we've talked about the psychology of putting we before me.
Yeah, all those fascinating theories.
But it's not just the psychology thing.
Right. We before me brings in sociology too, right?
It does. It's like looking at relationships through a wider lens.
Zooming out to the big picture of society.
Exactly.
I remember it mentioned the functionalist perspective.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest, I kind of forgot what that means exactly.
Well, functionalism,
Yeah.
it sees society as a system.
Right.
With all these different parts that work together.
To keep things running smoothly.
Exactly, to maintain stability and order.
Like a well-oiled machine.
Exactly.
Each part has a specific job.
And they all contribute to the whole.
So, in a relationship, the parts would be the individuals.
Yes.
And the machine is the partnership itself.
You got it.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection.
Each person has a role to play.
To keep the relationship healthy.
Exactly.
Functionalism would say that prioritizing
putting the needs of the partnership first.
is crucial for the whole system to function properly.
Right. It's like making sure all the parts of the machine are working together.
That makes sense, but relationships aren't always smooth sailing, are they?
Definitely not.
We, before me, also mentioned conflict theory.
Oh, yeah.
Which seems like the opposite of this harmonious machine idea.
It's true. Conflict theory acknowledges that conflict is going to happen.
In any social system?
Including relationships.
Because of power imbalances and stuff like that?
Exactly.
And competition for resources?
Time, attention, money, all of that.
It can get messy?
It can, but here's the thing.
Okay.
Putting we before me can actually help to manage those conflicts.
Oh, really? So it's not about avoiding conflict altogether?
Not necessarily.
More like changing how you approach it?
Exactly. When you come to a disagreement with that we before me mindset, you're less likely to dig in your heels and fight for your own way.
So you're more open to compromise?
Yes, to finding solutions that work for both partners.
Even if it means letting go of some of your own desires?
It's about the bigger picture.
It's like that classic example of choosing which family to visit for the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of each person insisting on their own family,
right,
you find a way to blend traditions or alternate years.
Exactly.
Showing respect for each other's needs and preferences.
You're not ignoring your own wants.
But you're considering them in the context of the relationship.
And that can lead to a more equitable dynamic.
Less conflict. We, before me, also talks about some specific ways to put this into practice.
Like what?
Well, active listening, for one.
Oh, that's a big one.
It's so important.
Absolutely crucial.
So what does it really mean to actively listen?
It means truly hearing and understanding your partner's perspective.
Like really paying attention?
Yes. Without interrupting
or judging
or immediately jumping in to offer solutions.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that.
It's easy to do. We want to fix things.
Yeah, or give advice.
But sometimes your partner just needs to feel heard.
To know that you understand.
And when you actively listen, you're showing them that their thoughts and feelings matter to you.
Which reinforces that we-ness.
Exactly. It's prioritizing understanding over being right.
It's not just about listening though, right?
Nope.
We before me talks about shared decision-making too.
It's all connected.
So instead of one person calling all the shots,
you involve each other
in every decision,
big and small,
from planning vacations to what's for dinner.
It's about valuing each other's input.
And recognizing that both partners have something to offer.
It creates that sense of partnership.
Like you're on the same team.
Working together towards a common goal.
I love that.
It's much healthier than one person always being in control.
You know, all this talk about putting we before me makes sense. But I think some people might worry about losing themselves in the relationship.
That's a valid concern.
It's becoming a doormat or something.
Yeah, but we before me addresses that directly.
Oh, good.
It's not about neglecting your own needs completely.
So there's a balance.
Absolutely.
Where's the line between prioritizing we and maintaining your sense of me?
It's about recognizing that a healthy relationship allows both individuals to thrive.
Okay.
It's not about one person sacrificing everything for the other.
So how do you find that balance?
It's about creating a dynamic where both partners feel supported.
And respected.
And empowered to pursue their own interests.
So you can have both?
You can. It's about finding that sweet spot where individual growth and relationship growth can coexist.
And even enhance each other.
Exactly. That's where the magic happens.
I love that.
When both partners feel fulfilled as individuals,
yeah,
they can bring their best selves to the relationship.
And that creates a positive, upward spiral
of growth and connection.
We before me also mentions choice theory and something called Glasser's 5 basic needs.
Oh, yes.
I have to admit, I'm not familiar with those.
Well, choice theory is a psychological model that suggests we're all driven by our needs.
Our basic needs.
And Glasser identified 5 of them.
What are they?
Survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun.
Okay. Those make sense.
We all have those needs to some extent.
But how does this choice theory tie into putting we before me?
Well, that need for love and belonging, it's central to choice theory.
Okay.
And it says that the strength of that need,
how much we need love and belonging,
is measured by how much love we give.
Not just how much we receive.
Exactly.
Okay, that's interesting.
So by choosing to prioritize we,
by showing love and care for our partner,
we're actually fulfilling our own need for love and belonging.
It's like a win-win.
It is.
By focusing on the we, we're meeting our own needs too.
And choice theory suggests that we have the power to make choices.
To meet our needs.
In a healthy and constructive way.
So even when it's tough,
we
can choose to act in a way that benefits the relationship.
Knowing that it will ultimately contribute to our own well-being.
That's empowering.
It is. You have agency in your relationship.
We before me gives an example of this.
Oh, yeah.
When it talks about couples negotiating their needs for power and freedom.
Yes, those can be tricky.
They can clash, can't they?
Especially in romantic relationships.
One person might have a high need for control,
while the other craves independence.
How can putting we before me help navigate that?
Well, open and honest communication is key.
So, talking it out.
Both partners need to express their needs clearly.
And respectfully.
And then work together to find solutions that honor both needs.
For power and freedom.
It might involve compromise.
Setting boundaries.
Or finding creative ways to meet each other's needs.
So it's not about one person always getting their way.
Or suppressing their needs.
It's about finding a dynamic where both partners feel empowered and respected.
Exactly. And the beauty is when you approach those conversations with that we before me mindset, you're more likely to come up with solutions that strengthen the whole relationship. When you approach those conversations with that we before me mindset, you're more likely to come up with solutions that strengthen the whole relationship.
So powerful, right? But I do have one more question about this whole we before me thing.
Okay, sure.
Because we before me also mentions that there are times when me needs to come first.
It does.
And that kind of threw me.
I understand.
Because how do you reconcile that?
Right.
With everything we've been talking about?
The great point.
Can you really have both?
You've hit on something a lot of people struggle with.
Like, is it ever okay to put yourself first?
It's not about having a rigid rule that you apply in every situation.
Okay.
Relationships are dynamic.
Right, they change.
Sometimes you need flexibility.
So there are exceptions.
Let's call it an adaptation.
Okay.
There might be times when your own needs have to take priority.
Temporarily.
For a while,
But that doesn't negate the overall importance of putting we first.
Right. Exactly.
It's just acknowledging that life can be unpredictable.
Life throws curveballs all the time.
Can you give me an example of what you mean?
Sure. Imagine one partner has a major health crisis.
Okay.
The other partner might need to step up as a caregiver.
Right. Their focus shifts.
And their own personal wants might have to wait.
Because the priority is taking care of their partner.
Yes. Or maybe one partner gets a big job offer.
Okay.
But it requires moving.
Yeah, that's a huge decision.
Those situations need a nuanced approach.
You can't just apply a blanket rule.
You have to consider both the individual and the relationship.
So the balance between we and me can shift.
It can, based on what's happening.
It's not about constant sacrifice.
It's about supporting each other.
Through those challenges.
While still trying to protect the relationship.
And that's where communication comes in again, right?
Absolutely. Both partners need to feel safe expressing their needs.
Even when those needs seem to clash with the we.
Exactly.
It's about problem solving together.
Even if it means temporarily adjusting the balance.
I am seeing now that putting we before me isn't just a one-time decision.
You're getting it.
It's an ongoing process.
Yes.
Communication, compromise, adaptation.
It's a journey, not a destination.
And like any journey, there are going to be bumps along the way.
There will be.
But I think the big takeaway from we before me is that having this mindset
of prioritizing the relationship
can make all the difference
in navigating those challenges
and ultimately building a stronger bond.
A truly fulfilling and lasting bond.
This has been such an insightful conversation.
I'm glad you think so.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
My pleasure.
This deep dive into putting we before me has been incredibly enlightening.
I hope so.
And to all our listeners out there,
yeah,
thank you for joining us.
We appreciate you.
We encourage you to think about what resonated with you today.
What stood out to you?
And consider how you might bring these principles into your own relationships.
Maybe it's being a better listener.
Maybe it's being more willing to compromise.
Or just expressing your appreciation more often.
Those small steps can make a big difference.
They can.
Every step towards prioritizing, we can ripple outwards.
Creating stronger connections.
More fulfilling connections, more resilient connections.
In every part of your life.
That's something worth striving for.
It is.
Thanks again for joining us, and until next time.
Keep